I'm Chef Ashlea Tobeck. I'm a pastry chef instructor at the Escoffier School of Culinary Arts, and I'm going to be doing a video demo series on how to make a sponge cake, how to crumb coat your sponge cake, how to cover it with fondant, and then how to finish it with some basic piped buttercream decorations. I'm going to start by making my sponge cake today. I've got my mise en place set up. You need flour, you need sugar, you've got eggs, butter, and vanilla extract for flavoring. This is a really simple recipe. It comes together very quickly. So I'm going to take melted butter and I'm just going to spread butter on the inside of my cake pan. I want to make sure I get a really nice coat. This butter is going to help your cake release from the pan after it's baked, and it won't actually stick to your pan. So I'm going to put a piece of parchment paper in the bottom, and I'm also going to slide one around the sides of my pan just to be really sure it doesn't stick. Then I'm going to go ahead and put a little more butter on the inside of my parchment paper. This will help the parchment paper to release from my cake when it comes out of the pan. Do my other pan real quick in just the same way. So now that my pans are ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and go over to the stove and I'm going to get my butter or my eggs and my sugar ready to go. Okay. So the first thing I need to do to make my sponge cake is I want to whip my eggs and my sugar together. I'm going to do this over heat because it's going to help you to get a little more volume out of your eggs. So I'm just going to dump my sugar into my eggs. Right now my eggs just are set in my pot. I'm going to go ahead and break them up with a whisk. I want to bring this to about 140 degrees. If you don't have a thermometer, it's okay. You actually can kind of judge the temperature of your bowl and your eggs based on how hot it feels on the tip of your pinky finger. Your body is a nice 98.6 degrees. So if it's hot compared to what your finger feels like, then you know you're pretty warm. This is going to go into our stand mixer and get whipped again to get to full volume. So right now I'm kind of just making sure that it mixes and that we're starting to warm up. So my eggs are starting to get nice and foamy. They're also starting to get a little bit lighter in color, which tells me that they're probably ready temperature-wise. So I'm just going to dip my pinky finger in and say, yes, those eggs are definitely hot. So I can turn this off and we can go back over to our stand mixer and whip our eggs. Okay, so I'm going to turn my stand mixer on. I'm going to start off with it fairly low and then increase the speed. All right, so my eggs and my sugar are light and fluffy and whipped together. I know that they're done because they're nice and white, and they also give me just this nice, slow, steady drip back into my bowl. I've created a lot of air in there. It's what makes it turn that nice white color. So now I'm just going to sift in my flour and then fold it in. I'm going to do this in a couple of stages so that I don't deflate all of the air bubbles that I just created. So I'm just using a mesh strainer to sift. I'm going to put about half of my flour in. And then I'm just going to slowly sift this over my egg mixture. Press through any of those little lumps of flour. And then I'm just going to fold this in. When I'm folding, I just want to move the stuff at the bottom of the bowl to the top. So I'm just taking my spatula all the way to the bottom and flipping it back over. This is going to take a couple of minutes to get it to look really nice. When you first start going and mixing, you end up with kind of these chunks of flour sitting in your batter, and you think this is never going to become cake batter. Just keep folding slowly and it will all mix in. So I can see I have just a couple of chunks of flour left in there, so I'm going to give it just a couple more folds, and then this batter is ready to be flavored. So I'm going to use just a little bit of butter that I've actually melted and then let cool again at room temperature so that it'll mix really well into my cake batter. And I'm going to make a vanilla sponge cake today, so I'm adding some vanilla extract. But you can actually add orange juice, lemon juice, you can add any other flavor of extract you want. Almond extract makes a really nice sponge cake as well. And I'm just going to do the same method with this for folding. I'm just pulling it from underneath back up over the top really nice and slow to get all of that flavoring and that butter mixed in. So now I have sponge cake batter that's fully mixed and ready to go into my cake pans. And I want to divide this up fairly evenly in between my two pans. So there's a couple of ways to do this. You can do it with a scale, or you can actually let your batter settle into the bottom of the bowl and then just kind of draw a line with your spatula where that halfway point is. And then when you tip your bowl, you just come along where that line is, and you're just going to pour your cake batter out into the bottom of your pan. I have pretty much even amounts of cake batter in both of my pans. We want this to stay really nice and light and fluffy, so we don't want to kill many of the air cells in there. So I just kind of take my pan and slowly turn it to make sure that the batter covers the whole bottom of the pan, and that will actually help to level the cake off in the pan all on its own. So I'm just going to turn just a little bit, make sure it's touching all of the sides, and then give it just a couple of quick taps on the counter. So my cakes are ready to go into the oven. I'm going to put them in a 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes. When they're finished, I'll pull them out and let them cool. Stay tuned for our next video where we're going to take our cooled cakes and I'll show you how to slice them and put a crumb coat on them so that we can cover them with fondant.